Time by Sagicor is
7 p.m.
CVM News at 7 headlines Tuesday, courtesy of Heart NSTA Trust, Jamaica's Human Development Agency.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, government to loan US $150 million to JPSCO to assist with Melissa restoration efforts. Inaccurate. Opposition questions number of confirmed leptospirosis cases. Sidelined. PNP says JLP administration not collaborating in Melissa response. In the business report, Pan Jamaica Group Limited acquires a leading Nordic juice manufacturer. And later on in sports, Jamaica strikes historic gold in four-man bobsleigh.
CVM News at 7 headlines Tuesday, courtesy of Heart NSTA Trust, Jamaica's Human Development Agency.
When the bus the man, I want to watch my son up here finance for CVM, you know.
But mums, you can't watch it on CVM website, man.
Score! My son score! My son score! My son score! My son score!
Greatness begins here.
CVM News at 7 Tuesday, brought to you by
the KFC Doritos Zinger, a crunch that's finger-licking good.
From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7. It's Tuesday, November 25, 2025. I'm Nika Lewis. Thanks for joining us. In the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa, opposition spokesman of Health and Wellness, Dr. Alfred Dawes, is warning that Jamaica's public health system is not getting the attention it urgently needs, arguing that only a multifaceted approach can prevent looming crises like the recent leptospirosis outbreak from escalating. Dr. Dawes is calling for stronger environmental management and faster testing as communities work through relief and recovery. Carla Ramdeen reports.
This uncollected garbage in Anchovy St. James sent to CVM News by concerned residents. There are growing concerns about inadequate garbage collection across the island, especially in areas affected by Hurricane Melissa. Amid the current outbreak of leptospirosis, opposition spokesman in health, Dr. Dawes, says the response cannot focus solely on public warnings about avoiding contaminated water and rodents, but it must also address the environmental factors fueling the outbreak.
Water is an issue. We heard from the MPs that water is rising. In some areas, there is a stench of dead animals. And you cannot simply say to people, avoid contaminated water, when that is the only water that they have available. So we have to look at the cleanup, we have to look at the access. And it is this multimodal approach that we're going to have in tandem with the work of the Ministry of Health that is going to stave off a worsening of the leptospirosis outbreak, as well as try to mitigate, if not completely avoid, the threat of dengue and chickpea.
Dr. Dawes is questioning the Health Ministry's current capacity to adequately confirm cases of leptospirosis, adding the government should move to deploy rapid testing kits across clinics and a partnership with private doctors to speed up diagnosis and treatment.
Early testing helped in COVID, and anyone with a passing knowledge of medicine understands that the earlier you intervene in a disease, the better the outcome, as well as the less likelihood you will have long-term complications. So we need to be testing. To say that we have 11 cases of leptospirosis begs questions. Are we testing enough? Are we missing cases? And if we are faced with a national outbreak, can we ramp up testing to have results back to see whether or not the case that we're dealing with in front of us as a physician is really leptospirosis or not?
Dr. Dawes stresses the need for primary prevention and early warning systems.
So we want to entreat those who are in charge of the disaster recovery to employ early warning systems for healthcare now. Not just surveillance to say that you have spikes, but predicting the likely locations of outbreaks and intervening. And to do that, you must combine environmental data, behavioral patterns, historical outbreaks, and you must also ramp up testing capabilities, confirmation testing, as well as introducing rapid testing.
He says Jamaica should call on the Cubans for greater assistance.
They have a very good system where they look at the environmental factors. Is there a lot of garbage? Is there a lot of stagnant water? Is there increased rainfall in the area? All of which we know has been described as happening out west. You look at these environmental factors, you look at the behavior of the people. Are they bathing in the rivers? Are they using exposed to contaminated water? You look at their access. Do they have access to healthcare, access to public education?
Carla Ramdeen, CVM News.
Bahia Principe Hotels and Resorts has extended the closure of its Grand Jamaica property to December 1, 2026, a year beyond the original schedule due to extensive damage and reconstruction delays caused by Hurricane Melissa. As the hotel indicated an intention to its employees to make all workers redundant during this period, almost 60% of the staff at Bahia Principe Jamaica Grand Hotel unionized. The union has engaged in discussions with the hotel's management and the Ministry of Labor and Social Security on their negotiations regarding this decision. Crystal Williams tells us more.
President of the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, Senator Cavan Gale, describes the nature of employment in Jamaica's tourism industry as precarious. He says a series of industrial action has been taken by hotel workers since 2024. As such, the union sought to meet with greater entities.
The Confederation of Trade Unions and many other unions would have joined the call for having a joint industrial council for tourism workers, a group, an amalgamation of both employers and trade unions and the Ministry of Labor to set up a kind of consortium as to how to protect those tourism workers.
According to Senator Gale, in specific relation to the Bahia Principe Hotel, intended changes have been in the works since March of 2024. He says the agreement was to close the Grand Hotel and operate the Luxury Hotel.
Now, the Grand is where you would have all the unionized staff. The intention was to close the Grand for 1 year, but we had a concern in terms of making the workers' positions redundant.
This conversation is not new to the union. As Senator Gale recalls, the last time they had such a huge decision to make, redundancies were out of the question.
It would not have been the first time that we would have gone through a situation where you start with a layoff, you resume partial operation whilst things are taking place. We did that through the pandemic. And this was one hotel that had protected its employees, not to separate them by way of redundancies.
At the end of the meeting, the president says the main aim of the BITU is to continue to protect the job security of the hotel employees.
The intention, therefore, was to ensure that workers are not terminated. They do not form part of the unemployment line, and there is a security of tenure in the very least, whilst we would have had the downturn in operations.
Crystal Williams, CVM News.
On Monday, the United States designated Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro a member of a foreign terrorist organization. This is the latest escalation in hostilities between the two countries. Among those concerned about the implications for the Caribbean are 10 former Caribbean prime ministers who just before the arrival of Hurricane Melissa issued a joint statement on the matter. Giovanni Dennis spoke with former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson about their concern.
One of nearly 24 deadly military strikes by the U.S. government in Caribbean waters.
This is something which goes to the very survival, to the existence of our nation states.
Former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson referring to the controversy over these U.S. military strikes on alleged drug trafficking boats in the Caribbean and the Pacific. Since September, the U.S. military has carried out at least 21 attacks on boats from Venezuela, which the Trump administration says are being used to smuggle drugs. Reports are that 83 people have been killed in the attacks so far. Tensions between the United States and Venezuela continue to grow. U.S. military presence in the Caribbean is now the largest it has been for decades.
There are aspects of the buildup that are worrying, frightening.
Like what, for example?
Well, I have just been advised that the President of the United States has formally notified the Congress in accordance with law that there is likely to be a land intervention in Venezuela. Once that takes place, then the whole area is thrust into conflict of very worrying and frightening proportions.
Against this background, Mr. Patterson and 9 other former Caribbean prime ministers recently issued a joint statement calling for the Caribbean to remain a zone of peace.
This is something in which our people have to understand the dangers that we face, and it has to be a call for decisive action to protect our sovereignty, to maintain a zone of peace, and to ensure that the rule of law operates both at the international level and also in domestic law.
Mr. Patterson says the idea of the Caribbean as a zone of peace arose at a meeting of Caribbean prime ministers in Trinidad and Tobago in 1972.
It was readily accepted, given our history of wars in the region fought by imperial powers, our history of piracy in the Caribbean, that development of the Caribbean could not take place unless there was peace to ensure stability and to release the triggers for economic development.
According to Mr. Patterson, the former prime ministers believed it was important to support the current CARICOM heads of government who recently reaffirmed the principle of maintaining the Caribbean region as a zone of peace. Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago Kamala Persad-Bissessar did not join her CARICOM counterparts in the statement.
It is very disappointing, to say the least, that is so. Not only taking into account the origins of the principles of the zone of peace, but also bearing in mind the consequences when we fail to speak on matters which are of community concern by separate voices rather than a unified position.
The former Prime Minister has also pointed to the so-called Ship Rider Agreement between Caribbean countries and the United States as an example of a legal framework to help catch drug traffickers in Caribbean waters. Giovanni Dennis, CVM News.
CVM News at 7 continues in a moment.
Hi, I know you weren't expecting to see me here. Now you can find your favorite chicken and snacks in the same place. It's true. Come on in. Introducing the delicious combination of KFC fried chicken and Doritos nacho cheese. The KFC Doritos Zinger, a crunch that's finger-licking good.
Black Friday starts early at Quartz with a whole week of deals from November 24 to 30 with up to 50% off store-wide. Furniture starting at $8,999, appliances starting at $19,999, and smart TV starting at $29,999. There is more! Shop on credit and make your first payment in January 2026. Don't miss out on a week of Black Friday deals at Quartz from November 24 to 30 with up to 50% off. Quartz, bringing value home. Conditions apply.
Hey everybody, I'm Yendi, and this is Odyssey with Yendi. In this space, we connect with some of your favorite people as they share their journeys. Here we have some unfiltered conversations as we deep dive into their inspirations, motivations, and experiences to inspire our own life journey.
Thanks so much for staying with us. Some schools in areas least affected by Hurricane Melissa have begun taking in students from the hardest hit western parishes. This comes even as thousands of students remain unengaged from the education system following Hurricane Melissa. As Amoy Harriet now reports, there are urgent calls for the Education Ministry to implement measures to retain students.
It's not so easy to talk to a parent about sending their child to school when they don't have a roof.
The reality for thousands of families in Western Jamaica.
I have a few friends that attend some high schools in the Western parishes, and they have been affected horribly. You know, the housetops are gone, the houses are flooded, their clothes, everything, textbooks, everything.
Melissa has rewritten the rules in the education sector, forcing schools, teachers and students to adapt overnight to a reality no one was prepared for.
There are some areas within our country that they're finding it difficult to find all the students. And based on what I'm seeing too, it seems as if not all our students are going to be back into the physical space in terms of the time that we would want them to be back into the physical space.
Linton Ware is principal of the Old Harbour High School in St. Catherine. His institution was spared any major damage from Hurricane Melissa, and thankfully so, given the school is still picking up the pieces from Hurricane Barry last year. Notwithstanding, Mr. Ware, like several principals in areas largely untouched by Melissa, is now adopting students from hard-hit schools in Western Jamaica.
We currently have students from Monroe, we have students from Godfrey Stewart, we have students from Black River, we have students from Lacovia, we have students from Green Pond. So quite a number of students are with us here. There are some students who have applied with their parents, they have applied for temporary transfer, while there are other students who apply for permanent transfer.
Even then, it's still an adjustment for these children.
The students that are staying here now temporarily, seeing that their schools have been damaged in Western Jamaica, they've told me that, well, it's really just the fact that their school has been closed and they kind of missed their school. And the damages causes them to not actually go to the classes that they used to. And being in a new environment, some of them feel uncomfortable at times, but we try our best to make them feel comfortable.
And while some students are still trying to find their footing in these unfamiliar classrooms, others are already heading back home to the West as a number of schools there have begun to reopen.
The young lady who we had here from Hampton High, she communicated to us to say that her school is back. So she's going back over.
The ripple effects of Melissa are being felt far beyond the western end of the island, from schools scrambling to absorb displaced students, administrators juggling overcrowded classrooms, stretched staff, and chief among them, the emotional toll on children uprooted overnight. Now, while the Education Ministry has activated recovery plans, educators warn that temporary fixes will only work for so long, with some western schools weeks or even months away from reopening. There is an urgent appeal to the ministry to mobilize efforts to ensure every child that went missing following Melissa will return to the classroom, any classroom.
Based on what I have seen, it is going to take some schools some time. It's going to take some of our schools until January for them to get back into full operation. But knowing our principle, being resilient, being the sort of person they are, I'm sure they're going to be trying to get our schools back into the physical space as quickly as possible, utilizing tent and other material as well.
The ministry is going to have to provide some sort of support in terms of even numbers on the ground to go into these areas to identify the students. And then there's another issue. We do not know the extent to which these students' files have been damaged by hurricane. So all of those things, the assessments have to be done. It's going to be a long process, I can tell you that, to recovery, to identify the students and to seek to give them the support that they need.
And a part of that support, students say, needs to be psychological.
Really, I believe that students need the mental support because a lot of them experienced it firsthand, so, it traumatized them.
Amoy Harriet reporting for CVM News.
As the government and several private entities partnered for a worthy cause through a series of telethons and virtual concerts, Minister of Agriculture Floyd Green says farmers are among some of the worst affected. Stakeholders shared messages of hope while encouraging support for the event, which runs up to November 30. October 28, 2025 will be a day that many Jamaicans will never forget. A day when livelihoods were ruined, homes ravaged, and lives were lost after hours of hostile winds and flood rains. Picking up the pieces will be a daunting task for individuals and leaders. It's why several initiatives have been undertaken to raise funds to offset rebuilding and relief efforts in the hardest hit spaces.
Today, I honor our music fraternity, whose generosity and commitment have strengthened this cause. Through their voices, instruments, and creativity, they help heal the nation and lift our spirits. This telethon is also a call to action to support the National Hurricane Relief Program, to volunteer, and to give what you can, because our contribution brings us closer to rebuilding. Though our island is small, the strength of our people is limitless.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness welcomed the outpouring of support from near and far as a blessing in Jamaica's time of need.
More than 900,000 Jamaicans have felt the effects of this hurricane in one way or another. Today, their voices and their stories guide the purpose of this telethon. From the first hours of the hurricane's impact, government agencies, volunteers, private sector partners, and community leaders have been working tirelessly to clear roads, restore access, and support affected families. The dedication and courage shown across the island reflects the spirit that has always carried our nation through its most difficult moments. We have also received heartfelt support from our regional and international partners. Many have reached out with aid, financial assistance, and technical expertise. Their solidarity with the Jamaican people strengthens our collective ability to rebuild.
Industry leaders and prominent figures volunteered with performances and by manning the phones on Sunday to raise funds, believing firmly that every mickle makes a muckle. No donation was too small. Ministers shared how amid the destruction they witnessed hope and resilience.
The recovery
has to be multifaceted. You're going to look at homes, you're going to look at roads, but we need to get our farmers and fishers back out there, right? And we've suffered about $30 billion of loss to the sector. I mean, our commercial banana planting crop, gone. 70% of our yams, our vegetable lines, 3,000 boats have been damaged or destroyed. But I must tell you, I've been to Clarendon, I've been to South Trelawney, I've been to South St. James, I've been to Northern St. Elizabeth, and everywhere I go, our people are the most amazing people in the world.
We are.
Farmer them out.
We truly are.
Farmer them as a minister, fix up your face, because we're going to do it again.
I have social workers who right now have nothing. I have about 8 of them that have lost their homes and everything within the homes. I have over 100 persons in the MLSS team that have been significantly affected by this hurricane. And guess where they are? Working, serving, giving back. So we want to firstly say thank you to you who have been impacted, but still muster up the courage and just the spirit of Jamaica to continue to serve. And they're on the ground. You know, so in addition to giving packages, what we're doing right now is we've moved into the next phase, which is to be very steady and structured and strategic in doing the assessments.
Title sponsors of the event include Red Stripe and Digicel. Sunday's telethon raised just over $5 million. The world woke Monday morning to the loss of Jimmy Cliff, the legendary reggae icon whose voice and vision carried Jamaican music across the globe. By nightfall, cultural and music experts were reflecting on his legacy. Crystal Williams has this review.
The Harder They Come, Special, Hot Shot, Many Rivers to Cross. These were some of the favorite hits mentioned by Professor Emerita Dr. Carolyn Cooper and ethnomusicologist Dr. Dennis Howard, remembering the late Jimmy Cliff. During a talk he gave at the University of the West Indies, Jimmy Cliff said his first love was acting. Former lecturer of the Literature Department, Professor Emerita Carolyn Cooper, shares as she recalls his role as Ivan in The Harder They Come.
The way in which he passionately transformed this character, this writing character, into a real-life icon of struggle in Jamaica. As an actor, he was able now to get forward to us this message of the possibility of hope that things will change.
Ethnomusicologist Dr. Dennis Howard referenced Jimmy's role as Ernest Reed from the 1986 blockbuster Club Paradise. He says Cliff's contribution was instrumental in bringing Jamaican music to the international scene.
Especially in America, in certain states in the Midwest and even in the West Coast, that movie was what propelled reggae music with the help of Bob Marley. But even before Bob Marley, that movie was the introduction for a lot of people to reggae music. So, and it's, as Professor Cooper just indicated, it was a very powerful performance.
A distinctive voice. This was how the reggae night singer was described by Professor Emerita Cooper. She recalls his first performance being born in Somerton, St. James. A short time after, 13 years to be exact, he came to Kingston and attended Kingston Technical High School. She says, in formative years, all he wanted to do was to figure out how to make a record.
He talked about being so despondent one evening, feeling like him just going to go back a country. When he went to the record shop, they were just closing. And himself just push him foot in at the door and say, him want to come in.
And the rest was history.
He really had the talent as a singer and his lyrics, conscious lyrics. Yeah. And he talked about moving, to songs that dealt with African consciousness and oppression. And so, he became a black Muslim. So he had a broad repertoire. He was writing a broad range of songs. He had a powerful voice. And that is why his legacy has lasted so long.
When discussing the formation of Jamaican pride and identity, Dr. Dennis Howard says Cliff is hardly far from the conversation. One of the powerful themes of his music, Professor Emerita Cooper pointed out, was Cliff's celebration of black women.
That Miss Jamaica, you say you may not have such a fabulous shape to suit the rest of the world, but you suit me. And I'm crowning you myself. So what Jimmy Cliff is saying, they have no business with what the people that will organize up them contests, what their criteria are. He is asserting his right to crown his Miss Jamaica. And his Miss Jamaica is not a Coca-Cola bottle-shaped girl. She have a serious, solid African body shape. And he's celebrating that.
As an artist with more than 30 albums under his belt, Dr. Howard says the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee was unlimited by genres. A multi-Grammy Award winner, an honorary doctor, a trailblazer. In a nutshell,
listen, he's iconic.
Crystal Williams reporting for CVM News.
We'll take a break. Stay with us.
New KFC Dorito Zinger, a combo that's finger-licking good. The time by KFC is
7:30.
Welcome back. Now to the business report with Joel Crosskill.
Lots to share with you in the business report today. Regarding a Caribbean-based multinational business group whose oldest enterprises have been in continuous operation for over 90 years and whose business interests span a range of endeavors from property and infrastructure, financial services, global services to specialty foods. The Pan Jamaica Group Limited Vice Chairman and CEO Jeffrey Hall, who is also Group Managing Director of Jamaica Producers, while announcing strong unaudited financial results for the third quarter, ended September 30, first spoke to the impact Hurricane Melissa had on operations.
Pan Jamaica did face damage from Hurricane Melissa, but the enterprise is diverse and built to be resilient. Our farming operations face the most significant direct impact from Hurricane Melissa. The kind of wind speeds that hit Jamaica meant that our banana farms experienced a loss exceeding 90% of the crop. Banana farming is the largest share of our farming business. We also farm pineapples and coconuts. The farming business represents approximately 3% of our total revenues, and that revenue line will be impacted for approximately 6 months.
Mr. Hall also noted its effect on a prominent hotel property in downtown Kingston.
Pan Jamaica also faced some damage to our hotel property. We were out of service with approximately 39 rooms as a result of impact at the Rock Hotel downtown. That hotel also reduced its occupancy significantly at the time of the storm in order to be able to maintain service levels. The hotel is back up and running and is in fact now playing a crucially important role in providing accommodations to relief workers that have come to Jamaica to address the concerns of the hurricane.
The group, which employs in excess of 7,000 people, has activated broad and fulsome support in a bid to accelerate relief efforts.
All of our businesses at Pan Jamaica have been tasked with making a direct contribution to the relief effort. We're invested in Sagicor, and they've made a huge commitment to the relief effort. At Kingston Wharves, the team there rapidly established a relief cargo warehouse that's dedicated to the JDF. It works 24/7, and it's receiving cargo and dispatching it direct to the JDF and to the affected areas. Despite the damage on the banana farms, we've made a direct contribution of bananas into the affected areas and also provided bananas to other relief providers such as STAR to indirectly provide support. Our team members and organization has contributed relief care packages with a wider range of goods, and those have been dispatched to the affected areas.
A capacity that benefits from additional organizational support from outside Jamaica's borders.
Our logistics businesses in Miami and London have provided free container space to support the relief effort. And in fact, the businesses that we do that have nothing to do with Jamaica at all have each been tasked with a cash contribution to the relief effort. And that now exceeds $25 million. So as a group, we're very proud of our contribution and we intend to continue.
Another sign of intent for the group is the ongoing expansion of its European portfolio, with a significant acquisition that is, quite frankly, remarkable.
The strong performance of our specialty food segment gave us particular confidence in this business. We're now a market leader in fresh juice in Europe, and that drove the segment earnings to double relative to prior year. On the back of that, we took the decision to expand our footprint into the Nordic countries. We now operate factories in Spain, in Southern Europe, in the Netherlands, in Belgium, and after the end of Q3, completed an acquisition that gives us a foothold in Scandinavia with a new factory in Copenhagen, Denmark. So that business, we believe, brings great promise for the future of our specialty food segment.
The specialty foods division remained the group's largest revenue contributor, with $18.3 billion in revenues for the 9-month period ending September 30, 2025, with growth driven primarily by the Juicy Group, a subsidiary of Pan Jamaica Group, which, as mentioned by the CEO, acquired 64% of shares in Frankly Juice, a leading Nordic juice manufacturer.
Pan Jamaica had a very strong third quarter, and its year-to-date profits show the promise of the diversified platform of businesses in the group. We have 4 segments, and every single segment year-to-date generated improved profit performance relative to the prior year. The consolidated net profits of the group year-to-date now stand at $6.8 billion, and net profit attributable to shareholders stands at $5.4 billion. We believe we have a solid team in place in each of these businesses, and that the areas of strategic focus are delivering now for shareholders.
And that was your business report. I'm Joel Crosskill.
In international news, some Indian airlines have cancelled flights because of massive ash plumes from an Ethiopian volcano. The Haile Gubby volcano sent smoke and ash 14 kilometers high on Sunday, its first eruption in recorded history.
The Haile Gubby volcano has sent smoke and ash 14 kilometers high this Sunday, its first eruption in recorded history. Air India has cancelled 11 flights to make precautionary checks on aircraft.